Welcome to Career Channels, the official podcast of CareerSource North Florida. And now, on to the episode. Hello, and welcome back to Career Channels. This is Doug Foresta. I'll be your moderator for today, and I'm very excited to have back with us Diane Head, Executive Director of CareerSource North Florida. We're going to be doing some updates from 2023. So Diane, it's always great to be with you.
It is great to be back in the saddle, I guess.
Welcome back.
Taking control back over on the podcast. No, not really. Just for today. Just hijack the session today.
Stephen is an amazing, Stephen Godfrey is an amazing host. But this is kind of a continuation of, for our faithful listeners, you and I had a conversation, I believe it was the end of last year, right? About, and so this is a good time. We're just about halfway through the year, maybe a little more than halfway through the year. And so let me ask you this. I guess what I want to start with is, what has been most surprising to you from a workforce perspective in 2023?
So far we've had a few surprises actually, and some maybe things that happened that we didn't want to happen that maybe weren't necessarily surprises. First of all, the WIOA hasn't been reauthorized yet. We kind of thought that would happen, but that there's some bills floating out there that relate that are relative to what we do. But nothing concrete as of yet. There are hearings and all of that fun legislative stuff that happens. Yeah. But on a local level, we've I think the biggest surprise and the thing that we didn't want to happen was we've had 3 WARN notices in the past 6 months, and 6 to 8 months. I'm gonna get that time frame wrong, but that's not usual for us. We could have 3 in a decade. Oh, wow. So having 3 in such a compact time frame has been a challenge. So yeah. For listeners who don't know what a WARN notice is, and I'm going to get the acronym wrong, so forgive me, but it's the Worker Adjustment and Retraining Notice, I believe, is what WARN stands for. And but you can look it up. You can fact check me on that. But it's essentially where employers close. And there's some other reasons to file WARN notices if it's a substantial number of employees get laid off and things like that. But in these 3 cases, the facilities all closed. So again, just not something we're used to dealing with on a large scale, and certainly not as like I mentioned, in a compact time frame.
Right. Yeah, you were saying you might have 3 in a decade. So yeah. What do you attribute that to? Do you know what the cause of that is, or is it different for each one?
A little different for each one. Each one is a very specific scenario. The price of tomatoes coming out of other countries is cheaper than here. Things like that. So and that's just one specific instance, but
yeah. I mean, I think part of it might be just the changing speed of the world right now. And, maybe that's part of the acceleration of it too. Just the world is just the economy is sort of reconfiguring itself so quickly.
And all right. Doing all these adjustments, really quick adjustments. I can't describe that. It's almost like those really small muscles that you have throughout your body. And so when you do yoga, that's what gets used and gets stabilized a little bit more. It's all those tiny little things adjusting on the second, on the nanosecond. And I think that's what, just like you said, what we're seeing. Yeah.
So, all right. Last year, we talked about some of the biggest challenges you were seeing in 22. I want to catch up and ask you, what are the biggest challenges you're seeing in 23?
So back in believe it was February, we got notice that one of our counties was going to be realigned to another workforce board region. And so you want to talk about challenges. This year we're spending in transition to transition that county to another region. And I mean, honestly, I keep telling people I feel like I've lost a finger just because my counties work so well together, the 6 rural North Florida counties together. And so we don't know necessarily how that's going to look come July 1st of 2024, but we're working with the other region to make sure that there's a warm handoff and that all the needs of that county, which is Jefferson County, that they're taken care of. We love serving them. We love being a part of Jefferson County community, but that's not who we're delegated to serve any longer. So we serve who we're told to serve, honestly.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So we want to make sure that their interests are taken care of and represented well.
And so that will happen July of 2024.
Right. So we're in a year of transition. You know, we have to rewrite our plan. We have to do our interlocal agreement. We have to rewrite our bylaws. We have to reappoint our board. We have to, there's a lot of things that have to happen in that time frame. And even the frontline things, how do we transfer customers over? Seems like it would just be simple, but I promise it's not. It's not simple at all.
Yeah. So there'll be a lot of moving parts.
All the things that go into that, and the new region would have enrolled the folks that we enrolled. And so there's considerations there.
I am very confident that you will facilitate a smooth transition, but I can see how it will be some work over the next year. So,
Sure.
all right.
That's what I'll be doing.
Yeah, you know what you'll be doing over the next year.
Yes.
So I would be remiss if I didn't ask you, you were talking about challenges. What are you most proud of so far this year?
So far this year, I mean, and this is a little bit maybe from a personal perspective. I did finish the TPM course with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and that was exciting to come together with other partners from the state of Florida, but also around the country. We learned together the TPM model, which is talent pipeline management. And the thought is, you wouldn't get your raw materials in without planning for that and having a plan on where you're going to get them from. So why would you do that with your talent? And I think I really love that analogy. And we've done one podcast on, prior to TPM. So it's probably time for another one to follow up on that. And what my friends Trish and Melissa also with me learned and how they're going to implement the program. So that was kind of a neat professional development piece. I think another thing that, and again, just completely personal, because that's where I am right now. I've had 2 knee surgeries in the last year and in the last 6 months. So I am happy to be here and happy to keep going. Therapy is going great, and I will never have another knee surgery.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. So 2 knee surgeries in the last 6 months. That's amazing. Are you feeling better? Is it?
Oh yeah, it's a million times better already.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. Just reconstruction and getting things cleaned up. So I've had it done before on the other knee. So but I'm a good bit older this time. So it does make a difference.
Well, to be able to do that and move the organization forward is something to be proud of. All right. So what are you most looking forward to as we kind of move into the second part of 2023? Yeah,
so I've got 2 new staff folks that I really am looking forward to seeing their production and the efficiencies that we can put into place here. I think that that's where we're going to win out every time. And when I say win out, or serve our customers the best.
Yeah.
We've implemented some things over the past 6 months, some new software, some new strategies on case management. And so but continuing along those lines of building efficiencies and making sure that we're doing the most we can with the resources that we have. Again, losing a county, we're going to lose money. So, and that's what happens because the money is allocated based on county. And so we, we just have to figure those things out and work together. But I think contributions of some new staff here are really going to move us to that next level. So I'm really excited about that. And just finding new ways to serve our communities. It is not easy to serve rural counties. It's not easy to serve large counties either. Don't get me wrong. I completely recognize that. But how do we serve them better and best? And how do they get the most out of our services? How do we get in front of them more? How do we celebrate with them more? How do we making sure that we're providing them the services that are relevant to them in the time that they need them. So that I want to make sure that we're in the communities and getting that feedback and doing the work that needs to be done.
Yeah, rural communities really have their own set of unique challenges, right? It's not whether it's the hardest, but it creates its own set of unique challenges.
It does. The close-knitness is that a word.
We know what you mean.
You can't, there's nothing that compares to that. But sometimes getting into those really close-knit communities and building trust and building relationships in them is not always hard. Yes, we've been doing this for years. I mean, I've myself have been here almost 20 years. Wow. and we're doing it, but we have to do it more and make it intentional to make sure that those connections are made.
All right, Diane. So here we are, believe it or not, about 3.5 years after the start of COVID, right? And obviously our world has changed so much. What are you seeing? Have things recovered post-COVID? What is the sort of post-COVID workforce landscape?
So the numbers, the data continue to improve as far as unemployment numbers. If there's a group of people who put a lot of stake into those numbers when they come out every month. And they are important, and they're certainly an indicator. But what I can tell you from the ground level is that our career centers are full. We're busy. We haven't been busy for 3 years. We've had over the past month, probably we've had maybe 10 or 12 job fairs or, single employer recruiting events. And we've had hundreds of people. We've not seen that in recent years. So it's nice to be back in that mix of things. It's nice to see the activity. There are some challenges with that as well, because some people haven't worked in 3 years. So how do we get them ready to go back in the labor force? So we have some tools to help those job seekers get back in the labor force, get their skills back up to date. And one is metrics learning, and I think you're probably familiar with them. And on our website, there's a link to Skill Up North Florida, and that's where it will take you into what we call our metrics system. And there are just multitudes of learning modules for job seekers, and not just job seekers, but job holders who want to increase their skill level. So there's some really great tools there. Job seekers can come in and learn through our VR virtual reality goggles. And that's pretty cool. They can learn how to do all sorts of tasks on a job. So before they actually apply for a job, they may want to figure out what that job really is and do a few of the things that the job would entail, so that they know, I could do that every day, or no, that's not for me. And part of figuring out what you want to do is figuring out what you don't want to do.
That's right.
And I think metrics and our transfer VR system allows for that. So really excited to use those in conjunction with our traditional tools inside of Employee Florida and assessments and things like that.
Yeah, I think one of the things that COVID did do, of course, there was so much devastation that it caused, but it did create an acceleration of the implementation of digital ways to learn, right? Digital ways to explore careers. I don't know without COVID whether we would have had such a quick adoption of these things, right?
Right. Everybody had to adjust. Whether you're going to school or working from home or whatever, or not doing anything, or maybe you started your niche gig career online. You opened your Etsy store or whatever. Those are big things that require skill. And actually, I learned this morning that Florida Ready to Work, which is one of our great partners, they are beginning a digital literacy certificate. So we look forward to implementing that as well with them. And again, just another tool for our job seekers and the people in the communities that we serve. I always say it's our friends, family, and neighbors, and because that is who we serve. So just looking forward to offering those new products to them so that they can continue to increase their skills.
Well, you will not be bored in 2023. That is clear. I just want to give you the last word, Diane, to our listeners as we close out here.
So one last thing to leave with our listeners is that we will continue to serve the rural counties and advocate for the rural counties of North Florida, and making sure that they receive the services and that we're a part of their community and truly tied to their communities. We want to do that on a daily basis. And so please engage with us. Please let us know how we can assist you more and better. Already this year, for the rest of the year, I have 2 conferences booked specifically focused on rural. One is Stand Up Rural, which is a national conference, and then another one here in the state of Florida. And we just look forward to continuing to find new ways to serve our friends, neighbors, and family in the 6 rural counties, soon to be 5 rural counties of North Florida. So just figuring out ways to do things better.
Diane, thank you so much. It's great to catch up with you. Thank you for all the work that you do. I look forward, next time we'll have to take a look back at 23 and a look forward at 24. We'll be celebrating Christmas before we know it. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming back.
Thank you, Doug. I appreciate it.
Thank you. You've been listening to Career Channels, the official podcast of CareerSource North Florida. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. To learn more about CareerSource North Florida and the services they provide, visit CareerSourceNorthFlorida.com. That's CareerSourceNorthFlorida.com. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll be back soon with a new episode.